Hi, Guido Fox here. Welcome bij een nieuw book report. Today I want to discuss with you this book, Setting Boundaries in Your Life to Create More Space, to experience more space in your life, in your very busy life, and not only physical space, but of course, the main topic here is mental space. We are so full loaded with information nowadays, with all the digitalization, media, and all those kind of things. Social media, we are full with information, and that disturbs our mental peace, that disturbs our ease feelings, peace feelings, relaxing feelings, and we want to experience more mental space in our lives to have less depression feelings, less feelings of anxiety, less feelings of feeling loss of yourself, loss of identity, being more aware of ourselves. So, setting boundaries in your life is a very interesting topic, and I think also very, very important to discuss with you as a life coach. And what the first thing I was seeing and I found interesting is this book is 400 pages of information. 400 pages of information how you can set boundaries in your life. And the matrix is not teaching you this information, right? So in your schools, in your low schools, in your middle schools, in your high schools, in your universities, people never teach you this. And so, therefore, there are all those coaches in this society to help you to perform better and to hold the energy in yourself for the right things. That's the core issue of the book, I think. How you set boundaries for yourself, you do it for yourself to hold your powerful energy for the right and important things in your life. And that's all about. That's all about how you can set your boundaries to center that energy, to load that energy into yourself for the right people. And first of all is that you have to remove the people in your life ultimately, but also how to deal with people in your life who constantly crossing your boundaries, constantly passing your boundaries. How to deal with this kind of people, because these people are a leakage for your energy. So setting boundaries is protecting yourself, protecting your powerful energy, because otherwise you have leakages in your life. What to do? And this happens in my life so much that people are crossing my boundaries, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this? Should I have to say something about it or not? And I'm really a freedom guy, so I transfer my own freedom to other people. Okay, probably he's like that, or he's raising up. History is like that, so he teaches some other values than me. So I gave always a lot of freedom to people in my surroundings, who were crossing the lines, who were saying things, who are really unacceptable, who are demanding things a lot of time and giving me unasked advices. I will tell you some in between some boundaries, or crossing the boundaries, things who can happen in my life or happened in my life, but also maybe in your life, is that people are demanding things and not giving something back to you. So, hey Guido, can you do the groceries tomorrow for me? Because I have pain in my back. I say some example. And also, okay, if I doing that, then the next week someone is saying the same. Hey Guido, can you help me another time with the groceries? And at that moment a pattern is coming and you have to do the groceries every day for the old lady. And so people are demanding things, and or coaching for free. Oh, Guido, can you do this? Okay, you can this, and wants to be friends with me. And before you know, you're spending your energy for free to people who are crossing the lines, crossing the boundaries all the time. And maybe you have in your life, you have a girlfriend or a friend who is constantly demanding time from you, demanding things, or can you do this, or can you do that for me, or are sharing their emotional, toxic garbage to you, complaining all the time, or telling you all private stories, and you're constantly listening to her or him. I wrote a blog about it, about energy vampires, that people are losing energy to people who are constantly complaining in your being, in your surroundings. So they're constantly saying things what you didn't like. This also deal with boundaries, setting boundaries. How you deal with a neighbor that's mentioned in this book, about a neighbor who's constantly coming to you and tell all their bullshit stories to you. So demanding things is a top one issue in boundaries. What kind of boundaries we have to set, and what kind of problems they're in. So um, demanding people. Later I come how to deal with it. First we have to recognize the boundaries. What kind of boundaries there are. So one is demanding people. Two is what is very common in the Matrix is late comings. I never come too late. I'm always on time. I'm always 10 minutes, 15 minutes before, because I want to adapt the energy in the environment where I met people, or I want to check, or I drink my coffee before a meeting. I don't want to be in a stressful situation, so I'm always on time. If I am not on time, I am dead. This from the famous movie about bank robbery. I forgot the name, but there's a famous movie with three color cars. Maybe you can help me. But there was a beautiful sentence: "If I am too late, I'm probably dead." So very fanatic. Very successful people are always on time. But there are a lot of people who are coming too late. And that can happen when there's a train distortion, or there's a big traffic jam, or whatever. But if it's become a pattern, then also boundaries will be evolved, because you're losing your time and the other person is not respecting your time. So I'm here to set borders, to set boundaries, but also the other people your girlfriend or your friend is not respecting your time. And that is important to understand, because a lot of people are saying to themselves, okay, this guy is coming too late all the time. That is maybe his personality, or that's how he is. And we are accepting that all the time. And we don't want to disturb it. We want to keep the peace in this relationship. So we accept it, and we are gone away with it. And later I come back on this issue, how to say it with holding this friendship, and also the frame building. Because if you say it after 1 year of late comings, you're too late yourself. So it's a very interesting, actually deep topic about different things, what can happen in your life. So late comings is also the second boundary we have to set, next to the demanding friends in your life. So one, demanding; two, late comings; and three is a main topic in the matrix, is canceling appointments. A lot of people are canceling very, very easy appointments with people. I nearly never cancel appointments. Because I'm successful. I'm very successful. I am very successful, so I never cancel appointments. If I make the appointment, I come, because I don't like that people are canceling the appointments for me all the time. So I give the universe a signal. I nearly cancel appointments. If I make the appointments, I come, and I hope universe is giving me that back. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that if people constantly canceling your appointments, the same with late comings, they don't accept your time, because you're also mentally involved in appointment. I mean, if I am at appointment, I'm mentally already preparing myself on the appointment. So not only the people who cancel the appointment with you constantly are crossing the lines or crossing the boundaries physical wise, because you have a 1 hour of coffee talk, but also mentally wise, the person is crossing the boundaries. So that's also a third thing. What is coming a lot of times in the matrix is canceling appointments all the time. So how to deal with it, I talk to later on. The fourth thing, what is happened a lot in the matrix, is unasked advices. I can, as a coach, see very early all the distractions of the soul of person. I can see a lot of things what's not going well there in your psyche, how you think, what is your patterns, your rationality. I can give everyone unasked advices, but I don't do it unpaid. So I hold my energy for the paying clients to give their advice. But there's a lot of things in your social circle who are interfering in your private atmosphere. So they're giving you unasked advices. They can be your parents, that can be your grandparents, that can be your so-called good friends, but they constantly give you advices about things you don't want to hear, you don't want to have. So people are coming into your private atmosphere. And also here with late comings or cancellations or demanding so-called friends is how to put your boundaries there, right? How to put your boundaries there to protect your private atmosphere because you're there with a mental burden. And your mental burden not deliver you the freedom you want to have. Your mental freedom, because someone is saying unasked advice and you're saying, okay, should I do something with it? I found it actually very nasty. I don't want this unasked advice. I don't ask you to do it. If I want to have advice, I go to a professional person who can give me advices, not from my social circle. So you're there most of the time with a mental burden, and that costs energy, and that costs mental energy. That is about the four most common things in society. What happened with boundaries. Later, I talk with you also about food advices from your social circle, or people are telling why you don't drink a beer with us, alcohol, or why you take this kind of food, why you don't eat the carbs. You get all those kind of comments from your matrix friends. So that's what you see also a lot of times. So people are crossing your boundaries, and if you're not saying things on time and you're dealing with a girlfriend or a friend who is constantly canceling your appointments on the last time, and you want to hold the peace, keeping the peace, you become a pleaser. Please behavior. You accept it, you are putting yourself in a lower value situation. You probably have a low self-esteem to set your borders there. You probably have insecurity problems, and you're becoming in a please behavior role. And then you're losing time. You're losing time because you're losing energy, and you're going in a downward spiral in your life. So if you're constantly in a pleaser role, you're becoming in a downward spiral, and then you're losing time. And when you're losing time and energy, you're losing life. And as a life coach, I want that you get your life back. So losing time and energy is losing life, and you want to make space, mental space, and freedom for the right energy transactions. I want that you remember this word. I want that you have a tattoo on your on your body with energy transactions. We have energy transmissions, is that energy is going from one person to the other. Mostly the high spiritual, high calibrated person is transferring energy to the group, or to the low, middle calibrated persons. But we have also energy transactions. And energy transactions are actually every mental being with someone else is an energy transaction. So if I'm with a person in one room, there is an energy transmission from me to the other person. If I'm thinking about the guy who's constantly have cancellations about appointments, then there's an energy transaction, and energy transaction is actually eating myself up. It's a low calibrated energy transaction because I'm annoyed. I'm mentally annoyed of the behavior of these so-called friends who are canceling the appointments on the last time. There's a negative energy transaction without being in the physical space of someone else. An energy transmission is when you're physical close by the other person. So there's a difference between energy transmissions and energy transactions. And what we are doing here is mostly the energy transactions of people. So energy transactions versus energy transmissions. So we want to have a border, a boundary to protect your negative energy transactions. My voice is coming over. So your energy transactions has to be clear, has to be vanished, has to be sandly. Sandly, that's the word I'm searching for. Sandly. Clean. Be careful for your energy, who you're giving you your energy in your life. Very careful. You've only one life, so be very careful with who you goes. How to deal with these boundaries? First, you have to recognize that there is a boundary. If you don't recognize there's a boundary, you don't have to set up a boundary. So first you can say, okay, I can make a boundary. I can set a boundary in the situation. In my life, I always was a pleaser. So if people asking something, I did it, and I did it very fast, so I can go on with other tasks. But I was a pleaser, right? So I did things for people for free, and I was not aware that I can set a boundary here. I was thinking, okay, that's I'm a good person, right? I do things, I will manage it, and that's your role in life, right? To try always be the so-called good person, to always give your word away from, oh, I will do this, I will do that, I will take care, I will keep an eye on this. And before you know, your whole agenda is full and you're lying in your bore out on your bed. This also you see a lot of times in work relationships or office life, is that people are taking too much tasks and create their own bore out here. So first of all, you have the right and you have the self-esteem and you have the secure personality to do this. You are able to set your boundaries and you can be proud of that, and you can be proud to save your energy for the right people and the right things. So a boundary has to be set, must be set, and you are in a state and you can do that. You have the right to do that. And that's the first important thing with boundaries, is that you can do that and you have the right to protect yourself. The second thing is how you set the boundaries. And this goes a lot of times wrong. If people are setting the boundaries, then mostly there is already a building up volcano. There's a building up volcano from a lot of troubles before, and now I want to say something about the noise of my neighbors. I want to say something now. I have to say something now, and then you're setting your boundaries too hard, too uncalibrated, and you get in a fight, and a juridical fight or a physical fight with your neighbors because they're playing already a year too hard to music. And so you let it go for a long time, and then you become very, very angry, and then you set the boundaries too unfriendly. And this was the most fights you're starting with is someone is ontplof, is escalate too heavy as a volcano, and then the fight is coming there. And so we want to set the boundaries clear, short. That's three things: clear, short, and friendly. Hey, I hear some voices or noise with music from you, neighbor, and it disturbs me in my living and my peace. Could you turn off the music a little bit lower or close it down after 10 o'clock in the evening because of a very busy life? So I will be very thankful for that. And how is, by the way, with your work, or how if you're going on holiday this eve? So what you see in neighborhood solutions, always be friendly from the start, always interesting to your neighbor, how it goes, to have already a nice building up comfort dealing factor with your neighbor, because from there you can set more easily boundaries later on. So if you have already a comfort level with your potential setting boundaries person, you can do it easier, right? It's not coming from the sky, your boundaries, right? Or your communication there. So you can see it on a friendly way, and you have a little argument there. And what the most of time in this book is also recommended is subject shifting. And that's a very interesting communication skill, is that you say something friendly to your friend from, hey, I see that you're coming too late. I'm very busy in my life. Could you be on time later on? Yes. And how it's, by the way, on your school? Is everything okay there? And you close the chapter. So subject shifting is a very interesting tool to hold the friendliness here in your boundary and close the chapter here. So otherwise you stay in a negative energy, negative field, and you want to transfer actually the negative talk into the positive talk, right? We have to go further with each other. You're not going away now, or you reject the friendship, or you break the friendship. That's the last option. But you want to continue the relationship. So say clearly, friendly, short correction here, and then go into the subject shifting. So first, recognize you can set boundaries. The second thing is how to set the boundary. And the third thing is to hold the boundary. And in this book is mentioned the green light, the yellow light, and the red light. So you have a building up mechanism. First you say the boundary. If someone is crossing again the line, you become a little bit stricter. So it's a building up mechanism here. So if someone is coming too late uh, again and again, then you say, hey, I see that I said already earlier to you, you're coming too late. I said something to you and you're probably not recognize it, or you crossing my line again. Could you explain what's happening with you, or why you're doing this? And by the red light, you are able to say goodbye. There's also an option to set your boundary, but also an option to say goodbye to your so-called friend who is not accepting your time. So late comings or cancellations or demanding or the unasked advices. With all those boundaries in common tasks, in common life, is also walk away. There's also an option, and it gives you freedom and mental space. You have the right to say goodbye to persons who are not respecting your time. And if you make space there, new people are coming, and new people on a higher calibrated spiritual level or a higher social pattern level who are respecting your time better. So if I'm higher in my frequency, I meet people who are higher in my frequency, and they're respecting my time. They're respecting my space. So also be aware that you are allowed to say goodbye to your old so-called friends. And that's also important to know and to feel. Keeping the peace, that's what the most people are hesitating to set the boundaries, is that people are really afraid that they're losing their friendship. So keeping the peace, but actually what you're doing is putting yourself in a lower situation, in an energy leakage. And here is the right thing to do, to set your boundaries, to hold on a healthy way the peace for the long term. And that's also healthy for yourself. So that's the most biggest mistake here, is to hold the peace, but actually it's not good for you, it's not good for your energy, it's not good for the long durational time. So holding the peace, keeping the peace is not a great solution. You want to have the long-term healthy peace also for yourself. Otherwise, you become a pleaser, and you're losing yourself. And if you're losing yourself, you're losing time. And if you're losing time, you're losing energy. And if you're losing energy, you're losing life. A boundary, and it's also good to know, is you set your boundary for yourself. You're not setting the boundary for the other one. And that's interesting, because then the hesitation to keeping the peace is less. So you're able to put the boundary, to set the boundary very more easily if you know, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for you. If you're coming too late all the time, I'm not a police agent. I'm not setting the boundary for you. No, I'm setting the boundary for myself. And that makes it easier to set the boundary. You set the boundary for yourself to protect your energy. Then you set the boundary more easier. So that's also very good advice, and ask advice from this beautiful book, for this handy book. I talked about the second thing in boundaries, and that is how to set the boundaries. I said clear, friendly, and short. And we do it short because we don't want to argue about this boundary. So if you set a boundary, what a lot of people are doing, especially destructive people who are going to argue. Oh, I'm not coming so much too late by you, only 5 times, so that's nothing. Or they say, oh, yeah, but are you always complaining? I mean, it's just 5 minutes all the time, just 10 minutes, nothing, right? On a whole life. Or you're always complaining about late comings, but you're doing yourself also things wrong. So what you're doing if you're arguing or building too much arguments on your boundary, is that it creates a conflict. It's create a negative spiral. So impact is going before intention. Let me explain. You want to set the boundary as the boundary. It is not, the boundary is putting a boundary, and it's not the goal that you arguing the boundary. So if people set the boundary, they're going, okay, I have an argument 1 for this. I have an argument 2 for this. I have a third argument why I am not agree with your unasked advice. So you put all those boundaries and you're arguing all those boundaries with 10, 20 arguments, and you get a whole verbal fight. That's not the goal of the boundary. The goal of the boundary is a short boundary. Hey, stop! I see this and this. I don't like this. I find you a friendly guy, but in the future I want that you become more on time. Otherwise, our friendship is under pressure. I don't want this. Let's be as friends and move on. What's your next holiday? Subject shifting. So the boundary is short, clear, friendly way, and move on. That's the goal of your boundary. Is a short boundary to break the frame. You have to break the frame in your way of life or way of dealing with this person. So breaking the frame, that's important here, breaking the frame. I talked about breaking contact, that's the last solution. So you're able to break the contact if people are constantly crossing the red lines. If you're constantly a person who's coming too late, you are able to break the contract, and that makes also more mental space in your being. In this book is mentioned a lot of examples. By the way, it's very, if there is a conflict or you have to deal with mental issues, you can look in the book about the subject and you can go further in it. I talked about emotional dumping. So people are energy vampires who are constantly complaining to you. I wrote a blog about it on my website, but also there set boundaries there from, hey, I see that you are complaining all the time. I'm not your professional coach. You can say something about your life, it's okay, but let's talk about positive things and move forward into the future. And then subject shifting. What a lot of people are doing is they're hesitated to break the contact. They're saying, I invest already 5 to 6 years in this friend. I invest so much time in this relationship. I know her already 10 years. And that is the sunk cost principle. And it's disturbing the space to meet other persons in your life because you have some emotional battery. And if the people going away, you open yourself up to other people. But people are saying, I invest so long in this relationship. oh my God, I lose so much, and they are going into hesitated to break with a destructive soul. So you have to forget this whole sunk cost principle. There is sunk cost. You invest indeed in this relationship, but you have to forget the cost that you're invested in this relationship, and move on. So that can be an destructiveness to invest further in this relationship. So the sunk cost principle. Um, Always open for new friendship. Always open to meet people. You learn from it. Also, not forget to not be the person who's flying constantly from friends to friends or have short-term interaction. Also invest in a long-term, durational relationships. Yes, of course. That's also important to deal with. Um, if you break up with a relationship or with a contact, you can be feeling hurt. You will miss that person, maybe. That is a lot of things. That is a grief. You're in a grief period. You're in a period of disoriented period. It's the same as losing your relationship, your long-term relationship with a person. Your love relationship is over, and you think about the positive things in that relationship, and you forget the negative things. So what we see a lot of times in relationship coaching is that people are missing that person, but you're still in a in a mourning period, in a grief period in your life, and your misconception is that there is still love, but you're not healing yourself enough. After a relationship, heal yourself. Let the pain come. Let the pain come in your life and heal and move further. And a lot of people are staying in the grief phase and we're thinking about their ex relationship. I've met women who are still attached to a relationship or 5 years ago or something, and are hesitated to step in a new relationship and are thinking that there's still love there. So move on and open yourself up to new people. So the misconception that grief is still love. Learn to blockade. That's an interesting part. If you don't like a person anymore, if he's very destructive, he's constantly texting you nowadays in social media, Messenger, WhatsApp, TikTok, or Instagram, and you don't like that person anymore, and he's going on and going on, you have the right to block that person. What happens with block a person is that you block the energy stream there. I talked with you also about energy transactions. This is a typical example about energy transactions. And if you're constantly getting messages from people in your social media who are destructive or not nice, block that person, that you cannot receive these messages anymore. It creates more mental space, makes you more happy, but you have the right to block. And that's an interesting thing. You have the right to block. A few years ago, I had an example in my coaching firm that I had to block a person, constantly questions, constantly going, crossing my borders, crossing my boundaries. So blocking. You have the right to block, and you block is your boundary, and with your boundary, you're protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself with your blocking mechanism. So you have the right to block. You have the right to block people in your life, to remove them as friends from Facebook, to remove them from Instagram. You have the right to block persons in your life. So I don't want to see that person anymore in my life. I don't want to see that person anymore on social media. I don't want to follow this person. He's not attractive. He's not nice. He's not constructive, I had to say. So you have the right to block. Also an interesting thing. Very big topic, right, guys? Unbelievable. What a topic. You don't learn this in the Matrix. The Matrix don't tell you this. What happens a lot in social circles, and it was by me when I was in the silly office life, is that people are recognize that you take more protein for gym results or salads than other people, or you don't drink alcohol. No, of course, I have to drive back with my car. I tell you already 5 times, I have to drive back with my car. That was my argument. What I got as advice was, oh, you can take a taxi home, right? I'm not dependent on alcohol, friend. That I have a good time, that I need alcohol? Of course not. I don't need alcohol to have a good time. But I used always to say I have to drive home, so I cannot take alcohol. And what they're saying, oh, just 1 or 2 beers is possible, right? Or you can take a taxi home, right? No, friend, I have to drive 1 hour home. Oh, you can take a taxi from the company. They will bring you home in 1 hour. I know I will cost 400 euros. Oh, that's okay. We will pay it for you. Stupid investment, I was thinking there. So how to deal with unasked advices here in your food training schedule and you go out of the group. So especially in office or group dynamics is the case, is that people are feeling guilty themselves because they're eating fat burgers in the McDonald's, or they have a fat body, or they are alcoholic persons who are drinking so much alcohol, and they're seeing you very healthy, dedication, lean body, nice masculine shoulders, and they're jealous. So from jealous people are the most destructive people. Jealous people are, you don't want to have jealous people in your surroundings. So how to deal with jealous colleagues? I'm very happy I have no colleagues anymore. But if colleagues are saying things about your private life, or they're saying things about that you're partying too much, or you're eating not good enough, or they're confronting you with alcohol, what you can say there is, hey, this is a personal choice I make, and I'm happy with it, and maybe you can focus on your own life, respect how you live. But if you're saying, hey, I eat healthy to stay fit, I don't drink alcohol to stay healthy, and then you actually condemning the other person. So people are very insecure, people are very jealous. The Matrix people are very jealous and insecure, and what they're doing is they're feeling themselves very silly. They have no dedication in life. They're a sheep mentality, and they're fat, and they condemn you to be not fat. So they're actually feeling guilty. Oh, actually, I have to stop with drinking beer all the time, or I have to stop with eating burgers all the time. And this guy is doing a great job, and actually I'm very jealous, and I have not a mental dedication to deal with it. So what you see is that people are wants to drag you down, actually, to their own level. From, oh, you can handle it. You're a skinny guy. You can eat some more burgers, for example. So they drag you down to their own level. You can handle it. You're skinny. You can eat. So they want to drag you down to their own level. So that's what happening a lot of times with Matrix people, is that they want to drag you down to their own level. So that's with critics on your alcohol or critics on your food. So you can say, hey, this is my personal choice I'm making my life. I'm very happy with it. I stand for it. By the way, how was your holiday last week? Subject shifting here also involved in making your statements. And if people are constantly crossing your line, you say, hey, stop with it. I don't like to talk anymore about your constantly unasked advice. Otherwise, we have to rethink our relationship. That's our second and third solutions. And the third solution is walk away and find another job, right? I don't like the atmosphere here. I don't like the social interactions. I don't like this group. And you find another job. So disturbing social situations on the work floor. So always the power to move away from destructive fields. So also here you can step out of your relationship if you don't like it anymore. If your partner constantly crossing the lines, you can always step out of the relationship. You can always step out of your job if you don't like it there. So there's always a solution to know, not be too dependent on your outer social dynamics there, your outer social circles. Another thing what's a lot of times are happening in the matrix is a pre-bullying stage is, it was just a joke. Someone is saying something nasty to you, or map you on your shoulder all the time, or saying nasty things in the office or in your relationship. Bullying in relationships, also a lot of things happening there. And people are saying, oh, it's just a joke. It's typical matrix dynamics. So, oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And actually you're saying with this comment, shut your mouth, and you're easily too sensitive, and you have to deal with it, right? And what you can say, because all the bullying mechanisms of its office or relationship or with your friends, with your so-called friends, is that it starts with, oh, it was just a joke. And what you can say here is, hey, I don't understand the joke. Can you tell what the joke exactly is? Okay, maybe we can move to more destructiveness and talk about positive things. So here also you can set your border, set your boundary on a very friendly way, to stop this pre-bullying phase. So you can say, hey, I don't understand the joke actually here. Maybe you have better ones where we can talk about it. I mean, say it also on a friendly way, but also in a serious way, right? You have to set your boundary also in a kind of serious way. Otherwise, they don't accept your boundary, right? So it's not constantly in a funny way to set your boundary. You have to set it also on a very, very strict way in a kind of sense. Otherwise, they don't take your boundary seriously. So that is the bullying boundary here. So we have alcohol, food advices, bullying pre-stages, and we have also here the religion and raising up your children. And it's mostly the grandparents are involved here. So they're saying things, you have to raise up your children like this or like that. Family issues, or you have to follow this religion and you have to come every Sunday to the church. Grandparents have always they have nothing to do in their lives. So they're gonna discuss, or they give you unasked advice how to raise up your children, which kind of religion you have to follow. Why you're not in the church on Sunday morning, why you let your children eat so much this or that. Also here are very tensions involved in this kind of dynamics. Also here you can set boundaries. You say, hey, it's a personal choice I make. I'm very happy with it. Please, can you stop with talking about how to raise up my children? I think I'm very good and capable of it. What about next week to have a nice dinner together? So also set your boundaries, very clear, friendly, direct, seriousness, but also move away from the topic and subject shifting to hold the friendliness and to have short correction here. So setting boundaries also in your family dynamics. We're going to the last topics is also self boundaries. I talked about also earlier about you set your boundaries for yourself externally, but you can also set your boundaries for yourself internally. So I go every day to the gym. Why I set this boundary for myself? I set this boundary for myself. I want to feel healthy. I want to stay fit. I want to have a good body for myself, for my soul. Also for respect for the women I see or the persons I see in my life that that I'm not a fatty boy there, right? So you want to set borders also for yourself, right? Also for self-love, self-respect. So you want to have also boundaries for yourself. So also with your food, also with your alcohol, also with your clean house. I want to have a clean house. Why have a clean house? I want to have a clean soul. I want to invite people here in my minimalistic life. Talk about later. Maybe I bought a book about minimalistic Japanese life. So a small apartment. I want to have it clean. To invite people here as coaching friends or whatever, or dates. So always think about what is the results of my boundaries. What's the results if I don't drink alcohol? If I don't drink alcohol, I feel better. If I don't drink alcohol, I sleep better. If I don't drink alcohol, I'm not moody the next day. So what is the advantages of my decisions? What is the advantages I don't drink alcohol? What's the advantages I have a clean house? What delivers me? That's what I want to say. What's delivered it me if I hold my own self boundaries? So what delivers me if I respect myself? What's delivery if I create my self-love? So setting your boundaries, you're doing also for yourself internally, and you're setting your boundaries externally to protect your energy and protect yourself. Last thing is that there's always a possibility to move out of the matrix. So if you're constantly tired of setting boundaries, you become a kind of police agent, right? And I'm not saying about the internally boundaries, but I talk more about externally boundaries. If you constantly have to say, I don't drink alcohol, I'm eating healthy because I want to go to the gym, I take it seriously. If you're going from office dynamics, from colleagues to colleagues, and you're constantly setting boundaries, and you have other way of life, if you constantly have your family discussions that how to raise up your children, how to and deal with destructive souls, if you're constantly dealing with friends who are giving you unasked advices, if you're constantly dealing with friends who are coming too late, you can always escape out of the matrix. You can always start for yourself an own business. You can always go out of your relationship and have a wonderful single life. You can always step out of the family. Even that you can do. You can also break with your grandparents. You can also break with your parents. There are always options to break with your surroundings and to block and to have a life further. This is the most radical solution, but sometimes it is needed. It is sometimes needed to go away, to get another life, and to break the relationships, the circles where you are in. So that's the last radical solution, but it's also a solution to break with your grandparents, with your parents, with your brother, with your sister, with your mother, with your father, with your closest friends, there's always an option to move away and to escape in that kind of way the matrix. Um, that is also the last solution, the most sad solution, because a lot of grief are there involved. But there's also a solution you can make in your life. I found it very interesting topic, how to set boundaries, because it really can give you your life back. 400 pages of information, I think very useful for people, their lives, and important, very important topic to discuss. Thank you for watching this video, and I see you by the next book report. Bye bye.